let's get this together. Now, get this one. Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay. We'll turn that off today. Okay, just about ready to start. Where are we here? Up here. Okay. Let's see what else is here. Push this over here. Okay. Okay, Sarah, I'm just unmuting you for a second, or I can't. Can you unmute yourself for a second just to say we're connecting? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
How you doing?
Oh, not too bad. We'll see by the time the second hour comes along. Okay, I'm going to turn you back off.
All right.
Okay. This. Okay, webinar started. Going. It's being recorded. Okay, it's all set up. Okay, we're just going to wait a minute or two. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to wait about a minute until we get, and then I'm going to start. Okay, I'm going to start, and whoever comes in will just come in when they can. This first class is kind of a bit of a review on aspects and a setup for going into each worksheet. So when we're dealing with aspects, see, there's three basic frequencies we get our meaning from in astrology. The images above us in the heavens, the signs of the zodiac, and the lines beneath us on the earth, the hours of the day, and the phases of the moon. The movement of the light in the dark by the moon, which creates the tides, and people planted by for millennium. So, I mean, what's above, what's below, what's in between? This has been the story of astrology since it began. It's always been an awareness of mankind. It predates horoscopy, which is the Western type of astrology based on 12 signs, and goes back as long as there's been people, as long as we have history and civilization. And so this concept of what's above, what's below, and what's in between, it's the essence of astrology, simplest thing. The signs above, the houses below, and us stuck in between. But also the planets, which are a little higher up in the sky, in the heavens, they move through the heavens. And because they're moving through the heavens, they're between the images in the heavens and the lines on the earth, they set a guiding line. If we follow and adjust our lives according to these heavenly bodies that move, we align ourselves with the nature of the gods and can even help them. So this is early logic. And over here, okay. So the, oops, sorry. Okay. So we're at the phase, we start with the phases of the moon. And this is the essence of developing meaning out of the aspect cycle. And we're just going to review, go through this, and then there's a few stages we have to go through in this. But aspects can get super technical and super involved, and I'm going to present some of it. Then we're going to really simplify it, so it really works with interpreting a chart. And then at the level 8, we'll begin to bring in, we'll restudy these technical details and these really smaller cycles and smaller aspects, because they become more relevant as you get into progressions, and that you can begin to see them. Basically, progressions slow down a chart, and so they move very slowly. Every day is like a year. You only have 90 days or 90 years or 100 years of them, 100 days of them. And so you watch, even every small aspect will be there for a period of time and is noticeable. Things that aren't noticeable in your normal natal chart will become noticeable in the progression. So there's just stages of getting this. You got to secure the basics first. We got to secure the natal chart, get your foundations solid. And what you're doing and what we're doing through the planets in science workshops, the planets and houses workshops, and now the aspects workshops, worksheets. These are the basic fundamentals, and they'll, once you know how to use them, astrology is yours. You can change the different applications, change it, but you'll know how to get the meaning, the full meaning, and squeeze it out of the science of the zodiac and apply it to a person. Okay, so with the moon phases, you have the new moon and the full moon. Basically, you have the first two, the two extremes we see right away. The new moon is the conjunction when the sun and moon are together, and we don't see the moon. The moon kind of disappears. It's like they come together, but they're not always on the same level. So when they're on the same level, you get an eclipse. There, I'm eclipsed. But usually they're above each other, or they're both low, or one's above, one's high. So you're not, when they conjunct, it's only twice a year that you'll get 2 to 3 eclipses on either side of the year, when the moon and the sun are aligned on the circle. The moon and the sun, their orbits cross each other, and the sun and the moon are right at either joint at the nodes. Whew. Okay, so the new moon, it's the conjunction, it's the greatest darkness, it's the most energetic time, because the two energies are put together and really strongly put together. It's really energizing. But it's also the darkest time, because it's just, aspects are like people. When you're together, lights are out, you're doing things, and it starts the whole cycle off. You begin to see the next day or two, the next morning, you're walking along with a big smile on your face, or not, but usually with a smile, that's the light beginning to return. You can ride in that for a certain while, and sooner or later you want to get back to the conjunction again. But before you get back to the conjunction, you get as far away as you can, and you get to the full moon. So the moon and the sun conjunct, one's feelings and one's sense of purpose conjunct, and one feels things are very important, but it's a very deep impression. That deep impression gets set every month and moves along, and it goes through its phases until it gets up to the full moon. The full moon, the feelings and the moon, the feelings, the memories, and the future and the purpose of the sun are opposed to each other. So you feel caught between two things, and you think, I've been here before, there's this and there's that, and it's these two sides to things, and we get pulled apart. It's almost like a deja vu. I've seen this before, this opposition of the sun and moon. So when things are apart, they're not that close. You can't just assumed togetherness. But you can see at the opposition, it's the greatest brightness. You can see how far away you are, that you're not going to get further away. You're going to get back closer. So the conjunction, you're together, you're apart. Two planets, two people, you're conjunct or you're in opposition. Okay, and each one has its own special challenge. Each one's okay. It has its own gift. But when we worked through the phases of the moon at the beginning, we used them as the phases. We concentrated on the 2.5-day phases and what they mean and how this light progresses and develops up to the full moon and wanes and wanes and wanes until it comes back to the new moon. And really, this is really the most valid way of working with aspects. However, most people just do work with the exact angles, and if it's close enough to the angles. So the exact angles are put in the center. You see this this double cross, the 8 lines going across, and they divide the circle into 90 degrees and then into 45 degrees. And those are the 8 basic phases. And at the same time, those are the 8 main aspects. So the major aspects, first, we have conjunction, we have the square, and we have the opposition. Conjunction, square, conjunction, waxing square, opposition, waning square. The squares, both are stressful, but they're very different. So, and then they have the conjunction. So then in between you have what's called minor aspects, and the minor aspects, the semi-square, 45 degrees, half a square, 135, a square and a half. These are the next stressful ones. I consider them sometimes more significant than a trine or a sextile. But we have the angles and we have the phases between the angles. The angles are moments. The phases between the angles are periods of time. So yeah, and so once you take if you took the moon and all the outer information around you, you still have the conjunction, the semi-square, the square, waxing square. You still have the angles, and that represents when any two planets come together. When they come together, when they get together, they conjunct, and one moves on. The faster one moves on and goes around and comes up to opposition to, like the full moon would be an opposition between the planets. So it'll go through its conjunction, square, opposition, conjunction, waxing square, opposition, waning square, new moon. Okay, so this is a simple thing, but tremendous amount of information. You get some, you look at your own chart and you start thinking about this. Well, what does that mean? Then you see the phase of the moon. You got those to work with.